What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Let's get into the Thursday action in the college basketball world. These will be my March 13th Thursday college basketball picks. I'll give you a 5-pack along with some leans to get into today's slate. We have over 45 games in action running today. It's a huge one. Apologies for getting this video out a little bit later. That's why it's so important for you guys to subscribe and turn on that notification bell so that you get my picks directly delivered to you immediately after I post a video, okay? Also, I do want to share with you that it is completely free. You're not buying a Netflix subscription to hear my analysis and breakdown of the slates and games and what we have going on in the betting card. Does not cost you a dime. All we ask in return is you watch and hit that like button and be sure to subscribe if you have not already done so. Okay, let's get into it though. We are going to kind of get through a lot of games here. We are going to use OUTLIER to break down the picks. First and foremost, I do want to recap yesterday. 3-2 on the day in my 5-pack. One where outside of the Rhode Island game where it did look like they got off the bus, we had a very strong chance within what happened within the UNLV spot to go 4-1. But other than that, guys, it was a pretty hum-ho day as we cashed into the green. So slight profit. We aren't going to kind of complain too much because it does set us back even from the day before, but we are going to get into today's slate as the conference tournaments heat up, right? We got some big boy basketball, SEC, Big East back into the fold. It's going to be something where you look into kind of the storylines here. Some of these games matter for some teams and some of them don't for others. And what I mean by that is tickets are punched and for experience sake, I think some of these games are more noteworthy and important for others, okay? And that's kind of what we're going to talk about. The first game of note for me on the card is a 12 o'clock tip-off, Georgia Tech and the Duke Blue Devils. Now, Duke has played Georgia Tech, albeit Georgia Tech does play great defense, but that 22.5 point spread is something that we saw a 20-point number earlier on in the season. And here, guys, we get a situation where is this going to be just another day where Duke runs through their competition? One trend that we will talk about in this video that has proved to be effective is we're getting a little bit lower scoring games within the earlier tip-offs. So that's something to keep in mind in terms of just kind of how these conference tournament trends have been running. Duke in this spot is a team that I really can't bet against. Like I said, they've cashed me a lot of tickets just riding the Blue Devil wave, and I think that's kind of what you have to do today. That's a huge number, though, where I could see Duke winning by 30. But is it something that you really want to get involved with? And the answer to that question is yes. However, I'm not going to lay 22.5 in conference play. I do favor the big numbers, more so taking the points. But one thing that is kind of important is I do think it's going to be good for Duke to lose in the ACC tournament. Get that loss out of the way for all you guys with futures tickets for Duke to take it home within the big dance. I think that this young club needs to get a loss under their belt. It's very hard to go wire to wire through your conference tournament and win the big dance as well. So that's kind of how I feel about Duke in the spot. It will be a pass for me. The next game before our first official pick will be Butler and St. John's. This is an interesting spot because we see Butler coming in at 12.5 point underdogs, and these two teams during the course of the regular season, they have been really close affairs, okay? Now, the Red Storm here, we all know, plays great defense. Their big concern is, will they be able to shoot the three ball against teams that are better offensively, where they kind of get in that mismatch? But a lot of people out there are just riding Rick Pitino, and that's kind of where you look at the Johnnies here, laying 12.5. This is one of those numbers that doesn't make sense. This would be a lean for St. John's for me. It's very easy to just say, hey, both of these regular season performances were under 5 points. I think they were actually both at 2. I'm not sure on that exactly. I just remember they were close from watching them. Where you just say, hey, let's take the 12.5. Butler's going to keep this one close. They did it twice before. Why not? And that's kind of where it leads me to giving out a St. John's lean, as you see a lot of the handle is on the under, as well as just a little bit on St. John's in terms of the spread. And that's another reason why I'm staying away from this game, because if you do have a low-scoring affair, it works both ways. I mean, if Butler doesn't score the basketball, then yes, that would support Butler plus 12.5. But if St. John's just wins in a blowout and it's something where it still goes under, you could have a very, very lopsided affair where St. John's covers a number and it goes under. But more times than not, though, unders always favor the underdog in terms of the point spread. So that's how I feel about it. That will be a lean for St. John's, okay, and the under, actually. if we really want to take it a step farther. But Iowa State and BYU, that will be my first official play. I really like the Iowa State Cyclones team. One of the top defenses in college basketball, playing BYU. BYU is a great club as well, and I know probably a lot of people out there taking the value with the Cougars plus 3.5. For me and my money, though, I'm going to lay it with Iowa State. They did get a little bit healthy, not fully out of the win yet, but I think that's something to be said. Is Iowa State shooting the hell out of the from 3-point line, and that's something that's worthy to kind of keep as a data point as we move forward, because Iowa State, that's always something that's plagued them. Play great defense, struggle to shoot the three ball. So BYU, they can do that on both ends as well, and that's kind of why we see a higher total, 146.5. Probably would lean a little bit towards the under, but for me and my money, guys, I will be taking the Cyclones -3 as a best bet for my first official play. Okay. And that is a 12:30 tip-off, so you do have enough time to get to the window. All right, another game that I thought about betting was Ohio taking OU against Toledo. One thing that scared me in this one, though, is Toledo outlasting them by double digits recently. The last played game, I believe, in the MAC, and that's kind of where it's another one of those fishy numbers where the Bobcats -2.5 is appealing, but I just kind of want to know what went on with the Rockets where they kind of edged them out by margin in their last contest, okay? So that will be no play for me. Next, North Carolina and Wake Forest. If I had to pick one game not on my best bets that would have almost made my card, that will be North Carolina. One of the hottest teams in basketball, albeit they did lose a game against Duke where the outcome of that score was a lot closer than what the scoreboard said, okay? And that was against Duke, and that was their only loss in a lot of games. So you got the North Carolina Tar Heels here laying 5.5 on the road, playing a very good Wake Forest team that, albeit they did get that first round bye. North Carolina had to play against Notre Dame. I think that does favor the Tar Heels a little bit, though, being a little bit more fresh, kind of having a tune-up game. They weren't full throttle, double overtime against Notre Dame. They took care of business. They got the rest a little bit, and it was almost a walkthrough where they're going to be in momentum, where North Carolina really looks to win the ACC here. Kind of a value play, too, if you want to take a team to win the ACC tournament against Duke. The clear-cut favorite would be North Carolina. And then you could go down a little bit later in the board, maybe take a little Clemson in that same regard, okay? So 5.5 for North Carolina is a very strong lean. The next official play that we will have, though, this is going to be on the side of the Xavier Musketeers. We're taking +3. Both of these contests were very close during the regular season as well. And now we can find +3. You can take it like -112, I think is what I got. Xavier +3 is going to be my best bet in this contest. You can see the handle supporting Xavier. It is a little bit of a trendy dog, mind you, but we do get actually the more of the public money is on Marquette and a little sharper action on the Xavier Musketeers, who have possibly been playing some of the best basketball in the Big East as of recent, okay? And I think that when it comes to a motivational standpoint, I think these teams split during the regular season, or maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, let's look that up real quick. My memory does not serve me correct all the time, okay? And that's where we saw, Xavier outlasted them. No, they did split 72-70 and 59-57. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. 2-point defeats throughout the course of the regular season. So why not? Why not set the number at 2.5? So we'll take a 3. I took Xavier +3. That's something that we could still cover the number. Xavier money line, I don't mind as well. If you want to find that +126, that's some great value. And I think, quite frankly, I have no problem making this bet because Xavier is playing better basketball right now, okay? And that's kind of what all that matters. And I think that's what we see from time to time within these conference tournaments. And you see a lot of these upsets in the postseason. Teams just aren't handicapped correctly because they're basing them on games from November that, quite frankly, are completely different basketball clubs, all right? Kansas is a great example, okay? Next, Houston and Colorado. All right, this will be an official play for me as well. This is where we look at the Colorado Buffaloes and the Houston Cougars. We're hoping for a little bit of that early window-ish sloppiness, okay? And Colorado's been one of those streaky teams that has been able to get the job done in a lot of ways. I think that's something that we talked about is Colorado 8 out of their last 9 games, ATS, as an underdog. I think that a very sharp move would be to play Colorado plus the points, but Houston is a squad that I really do like. Calvin Sampson and club looking to get the job done in this game and in the in their conference tournament where, quite frankly, I think Houston is on upset alert a little bit, okay? I think that Texas Tech could really stick it to them. Also in that, I think that the number one seed they will have in the postseason is not in jeopardy, but I do like the Cougars a lot come the big dance. But this is where I do favor this. The under has hit in 10 of the last 15 games for Colorado. Houston, what are they known for? Well, they play outstanding defense. And that being said, I think that we might get a little bit of a delay in the offense, as this is off a long layoff. And for me and my money, guys, we are going to dive into this spot in the form of taking the first half, okay? And that's where we're looking to the halftime line, and we see the first half total, okay? And that's another thing, guys. I don't mind the first half total as well. I think Colorado really does a first half spread. I think that Colorado really does struggle to get going in this game, and that's kind of where I'm looking into this first half total, where we see I was able to take a 60 here, which I think is is a really good number here. Taking the under 60, you can even find a little bit more juiced up, but I like the under 60, under 61 if you want to pay some juice for it. But I think we get it done with under 60 here. Houston and Colorado at minus 105. Okay, and that will be one of my best bets that I give out to you guys. All right. I think Houston plays great defense, might be a little bit rusty offensively, and if Colorado does kind of fit the bill as you know, playing their heart and soul out, they might be able to stifle Houston a little bit early on, and then I think Houston does pull away late, and that's kind of how I handicap that game. But I think that the defense of Houston is enough to get this done in the first half, okay? Next, let's get into kind of the other picks that we are going to be talking about. The one game that I think is worthy of talking about outside of an official play would be Iowa and Illinois. I think that this is just way too many points for Iowa, plus 10.5, fresh off a victory against the Buckeyes. I think that Illinois could blow them out, sure, but I think it's just way too many points, so it's just a play on the numbers. I'd have this one closer to 7 and 8, so that does give you a little bit of a separation there if you do want to go based off my numbers, where I would lean towards the Hawkeyes, kind of the same logic within the North Carolina spot as well, okay? Next, the Baylor game against Texas Tech. Now, this one is another game that is a very strong lean that almost made my card. I think Baylor is fugazi. I think Texas Tech laying 6.5 is enough. If you want to know kind of where I'm at, I think that this is something where I might end up betting, even though it's not an official play. Texas Tech is a very strong spot for me. I think that they have the potential to win the Big 12 tournament, and I do look for that defense to do some damage in the postseason, okay? I think personally Baylor lays an egg, and that Texas Tech gets this one done, minus 6.5. So that will be probably my 5.5 bet, if you will, on today's card, where I do like the Red Raiders to get this one done, okay? Next, let's go down the board a little bit more. This is going to be a play where we look into kind of Mount St. Mary's and what we have going on within Marist and Mount St. Mary's. This number is just, I think, wrong in my opinion, okay? And it's interesting, though, because this number has went against me in this spot where we did see it open at 2.5, and that has since been bet up to 4.5, and even 5 in some places. I don't know if we'll see a firm 5, but I don't agree with this number. So if there's somebody injured for Mount St. Mary's, please let me know. This is going down to the fact that against the spread, Mount St. Mary's 19-10-1 on the season. Marist is 11-17-1. And this is something where within the MAAC, I do think Mount St. Mary's is set up pretty well in this tournament. I don't agree with the number. I think they should be a 4.5-point favorite. So I kind of look for them to get the job done. And if you want to talk about where we look at these games, I think this one, even if they do lose, will be a close one. So let's get some value here, plus 4.5 for Mount St. Mary's. And if you do want to get frisky, plus 160 on the money line is the best number available. But I'll be taking the Mountaineers, and this could be one of those I told you so spots where, you're looking at Mount St. Mary's versus Marist, and it seemingly looks like Marist is the better team, that they're not the better team. You look at the head-to-head, and that's something that I want to share with you guys as well, as we pull that up, and you can see head-to-head on the season, 52-62 in favor of Mount St. Mary's. Mount St. Mary's also lost 53-50. So a win by 10 at home, and then losing by 3 on the road as a 5.5-point favorite. And now we do get Marist. And now that we do get Actually, I read that completely wrong. Apologies. Okay, so this was back on December 6, 2024. Marist won 53-50. Okay, yeah, I'm right. And then Marist also lost on the road 62-52. So I think this is something where we're seeing a similar point spread. It was 5.5 the time that they only won by 3. I just really do like this Mount St. Mary's club. I think that this is just way too many points. Give me 4.5 Mount St. Mary's as an official play. Okay, now we do have one more pick to go over, and I kind of almost want to make it 7 picks. I really do like Texas Tech, and then I really do like the other game that we talked about a little bit earlier. That I think North Carolina was that game, if we're just being honest. And then the last game on the card that is worth talking about is Clemson SMU. Before we get to my last play, SMU, one of my teams that I did favor a lot. They could play a different style of basketball. But if we look at Clemson, this is a team that I think is the most underrated team in college basketball, top 10 offense and defense. And this is something where, Clemson, otherwise known as a football school, a little bit of baseball school, but this is something where the Clemson Tigers, top 10 team in the country, looking to do some damage in March. And I think that the Tigers here laying 6.5, I think that number is a little bit too slow. So if you wanted to make me bet this game, this is one that would be a very strong lean towards Clemson as well in this spot. Okay, like I said, guys, one of the most underrated teams in college basketball. All right, and that'll lead us into our last play. This is kind of where we're going to go into the Tarleton State Texans going against the Cal Baptist Lancers, okay? For me, guys, this is going to be a play on the under, all right? So I'm taking the 127.5. That is the best bet that I'm giving out, 127.5 under in Tarleton State and Cal Baptist. This is one where the number is kind of right on the money. But I think that the way that these games have progressed in the regular season, we'll talk about the under real quickly. In the head-to-head action that we have seen, we did get 116 and 124 during the regular season. The numbers pre-flop for those were 129.5, 131, both going under. Now we get a lower number at 127.5, but I do think this is just still right in the range where we do get one of those games that we saw with Gonzaga and St. Mary's. Some of these postseason games are going way under the totals. I think that Cal Baptist is an under team. I think that Tarleton State is an under team, and I think that's exactly what we get as we dive into it. And some of the numbers that do make sense too. It's not so much. It's a more of a coin flip though when we do talk about the neutral court, where you see 5 and 8, 8 and 5 to the under, 11 and 7 to the under on the road or neutral court. And then the other thing that does make sense for me, guys, is after 4+ days off for Tarleton, they do get a little bit rusty. All right. 12 out of their 18 games after a 4-day layoff, the Tarleton State Texans do go under. I'm a big fan of taking unders on neutral courts. Personally, I think they should be always lower totals. You get different backdrops, different sight lines, and that just kind of allows me to handicap this game in a way where, yes, it's different going on the road, but you'll see this when we do get into these March Madness games, right? You play in a big pro arena. Sometimes they're not even basketball arenas. They could be hockey arenas. They could be concert venues. It just all varies. And when you have to bring in that hardwood floor, the bleachers are on a different way where, the fans aren't on your stands. It's tough. It's tough shooting free throws. It's tough shooting 3-pointers. It changes all of your sight lines. And if you've ever played basketball, you kind of know what I'm talking about. And these kids are used to it. They're not used to it, but you couple that with a little bit of nervy energy from being in a conference tournament, adds to my conviction that these games do favor the under. So that's what I'll be taking as my 5th best bet. We're going under 126.5, Tarleton State and Cal Baptist. 127.5 is the number that I took. Okay, shop around because you can still find a 127.5 as I'm making this video. All right, so that'll wrap it up. Those are my best bets. Make sure you guys all like, comment, and subscribe down below. Let's try to get 4 or 5 out of this 5-pack, and hopefully the leans along the way do come through. We are going Tarleton State under, like I talked about, 127.5. Mount St. Mary's grabbing those 4.5 points. Houston, we're going under 60 in the first half. Xavier +3 for the full game, and Iowa State, we're going to lay 3 points in that spot. Okay, so appreciate you guys tuning in. Good luck with your picks. We'll see you guys all over on Discord, and like I said, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe down below. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.